Hey, Jamie from Moto here. Today we're going to talk about the tunable exhaust inserts that we've just released for a few different mufflers. As it currently stands, we have two different models. We have a 12-inch version, which is going to be there, and a 6-inch version there. The 12-inch versions are going to fit all the current generation Jackpot mufflers. That includes the high rollers and the Outlaws. These also fit into S&S, your Grand Nationals, and several other mufflers that use the 3-bolt pattern in the back. Nice thing about these is there's a direct insert. You don't have to disassemble the muffler to install these. Basically remove the end cap if you have a high roller or a Grand National, or on the slash mufflers, just 3 bolts in the back. Slide the current insert out if you haven't installed, slide this one in place, put the 3 bolts in, and you're all set. The other version we sell is a universal version that fits 2.5-inch baffle cores, fits a broad range of mufflers, fits most of the current Rinehart stuff, a lot of the Sony, just a bunch of different brands that are out there that use 2.5-inch cores. You can also use them in a lot of 2-in-1 systems that have a 2.5-inch core as well. This one's universal, so it does require muffler assembly, which in most cases is just removing the end cap with 2 or 3 screws, pulling the end cap off, sliding the baffle out, and then it is going to slide into the baffle and secure with a retaining bolt like this. Now the cool thing about these, how they're designed, they do a couple different things. Now, going into this, understand there's no blanket statement that an insert or a baffle is going to do everything in every application, because there is an infinite amount of combinations and engines and exhaust systems and pipe designs and things. A good example is where these are going to really work is going to be where there's a deficiency, where it needs help. When that's going to be, say, for example, a moderate cam with quite a bit of overlap, and you have a larger than normal baffle, like a 2.5-inch. Well, that's where the motors are going to be real soft and soggy on the bottom, and they lack the velocity in the exhaust system, and a lot of times there's just issues with reversion and things like that. These inserts really help that. And we've seen as much as 20 or more, sometimes 30 foot-pounds of torque on the bottom. And then on the other hand, on a stock engine where it doesn't have those issues, not a lot of difference, But it all depends on the baffle design, depends what you have in there for an insert now. Our mufflers, we've been using these inserts for quite a while, and we've been using parts like this here for 2 decades. So it really depends. Now, the really cool thing that we did with these is we made them adjustable. In this insert, in either one of these, that has an adjustable tongue. We set the tongue at 45 degrees, so it's kind of going to work similar to what like a lollipop type insert like people use traditionally over the years. And you can adjust that tongue with either a like a screwdriver or a small pry bar. Even once it's in the pipe, you can adjust that as long as you don't close it up all the way. No, some guys might want to close it up all the way. That what's going to do, it's going to give you a little more sound with the tongue completely closed, and you're still going to have the benefits, because this insert actually does a couple of things. It basically, when the tongue is closed, it's going to speed up the exhaust gas, whereas just the installed under normal, it's still going to help with reversion, because you're going to have your baffle core here, as you got gases going in and out. This is going to help with reversion by diffusing some of the exhaust gaskets into the baffle core. So pretty unique compared to like the normal inserts we have in our mufflers. This is going to give you more sound and a little more growl, just because of the overall design. Like, this is the standard core that's going to come in our Outlaws or our high rollers, whereas this core here, it's going to give you a little more, rather this one here, it's going to give you more sound for our mufflers. It's bigger, and it also has the benefit of it's going to diffuse some of the sound and gases away from the louvers in the core. So a couple things there, and I also want to show here how these are installed. Now, the first one's pretty easy. Like in our mufflers, S&S mufflers, and some others that use a retaining plate in the back. Basically what you do, this is a baffle removed from a muffler. The same would be if I was holding a muffler in my hand. Basically, you're going to have your standard core would be in place, or if you have it removed. Now, this is in the back of the muffler. There's going to be three retaining screws there. You essentially take those out, pull the standard core out, slide this one in, put the 3 screws back in, and you're ready to ride. You don't need to take the mufflers off the bike or anything for that. Now this is going to be with the Jackpot mufflers or S&S Grand Nationals and a couple other S&S mufflers. You also could use these on a S&S MK45. You just have to drill a couple pilot holes because that core actually has 2 holes instead of 3, so not a big deal. Could do that without any disassembly. You just have to drill a couple holes in the core here. A lot of people have asked about Rinehart baffles over the years. A huge amount. We've sold a huge amount of Rinehart baffles for 2 decades, and great muffler, sounds really good. And we always wanted to make an insert that would sound really good, because these are some of the greatest sounding mufflers out there. But something that, like, especially on M8s where they really struggle on the bottom, especially if you do aftermarket cam or big bore kit, and these big baffles have a tough time in some situations. That's where these inserts work really good, and they still sound really good as well. So how this works in the Rineharts, you got to pop the end cap off the muffler, slide the baffle out, and then the insert slides in here with the small part facing towards the front of the engine. You slide it in, and you get that in there a couple inches, and you just drill a small retaining hole, put the bolt through it, and retain it. Again, you still can adjust that tongue, the valve that we have in there if you want. Basically, how you do, even if it's on the bike, you can use either a screwdriver or a small pry bar and adjust it, and it's going to stay put where it is. But you're going to find that, especially if you use aftermarket cam, big bore kit with Rineharts or Bassani's or some of the other ones with 2.5-inch cores, this is going to make a huge improvement. Huge. We've done especially the cams like that are a little picky, like say a S&S 475 or a Woods 222 and a 107 or a 114 that doesn't have a lot of compression. I mean, we've seen 10, 15, 20 foot-pounds of torque on the bottom really easy, and it still sounds really good. And with that, you're also going to gain tunability, because anytime you have the exhaust system working properly, you have the right amount of velocity, less reversion, the bike is going to tune so much better. And it isn't just the numbers, it's the response and the running quality. One other one here I want to show you is we'll talk about on 2-in-1 systems. This baffle, for example, is our road and track. Now, 2-in-1 tuning is going to be a little different than tuning with mufflers, because simply you have a lot less tuned area. You have one single 2.5-inch core, where, for example, like a road and track or a Fat Cat or Borzilla, Bassani, most of the popular 2-in-1s use a 2.5-inch perf core or louvered core, depending on the brand. And whereas the mufflers a lot of times use the same core, but for 2 mufflers, so you have a lot less tuned area with the 2-in-1. So different things can happen. It really takes experimentation. Now, again, there's no blanket statement what it's going to do. Every combination, every engine can be different. It all really depends on what the engine wants. If you're using the insert in the 2-in-1, a lot of times you're going to find you're going to have that tongue closed, or open all the way, so it flows the most, because you're going to want to get as much flow as possible out of a 2-in-1 because you got one muffler. We're finding now more and more. We've been testing these with our road and track system on M8s. They work pretty darn good, and we were able to tune some combinations that were otherwise not really well tunable. Certain cam, certain compression, certain other components within the build, and this has helped get those combinations tuned really well. And not just our exhaust, a lot of different brands, we've used these types of inserts in that it's the difference between making your exhaust work or buying a different exhaust system, and that's really why it comes down to why we develop these to out to customers, because we've been using these here for a very long time. Because nothing's worse than the dyno is getting 2/3 of the way through, do a complete engine build for a customer, getting 2/3 of the way through the tune and going, well, this exhaust system isn't happy, it isn't going to work. Well, you have 2 options. Here we generally we'll try insert or modifying the baffle of some sort, or replace the exhaust system. And there again, you got a bike on the dyno, it's hot, it's all, there's a lot of different things that go along with that. So these really have worked really good for us for basically tuning exhaust systems, giving the engine what they want. Now on our road and track, for example, this is going to be the same with a lot of different aftermarket 2-in-1s. You basically just take the muffler apart, take the baffle out, go a few inches in, drill a pilot hole, and sit there. And again, you still can adjust that tongue valve in there to how you want, and that's going to change the sound, and it's also going to change the way the exhaust functions. So all you can do is test it. If you don't have a dyno, it's going to be seat of the pants. We have a pretty good library of information as far as what we've set these types of inserts at, different exhaust, different combinations. So if you don't know where to set them, you're more than welcome to contact us, and we can help you with the best recommendation on how to set these up. The other thing is the tune. Now, that's going to be all relative to your combination. So if you have a, for example, a relatively stock bike, you have a stage 1 bike with a non-catalyst head pipe and mufflers with a 2.5-inch baffle, and you put a set of these inserts in with the valves closed, it ain't going to affect the tune that much. It'll help performance on the bottom, but it ain't going to help the tune much. In most cases, closed loop will clean it up, or if you have a Power Vision or a device that does tuning, you can run auto tune and help with that. But on the other side of things, say if you got a 128 M8 with big open mufflers and you have it tuned that way from a dyno somewhere or what, and it just doesn't run good on the bottom, you put a set of these in, it's going to make a huge difference. I mean, if it's going to add 10 or 15 or 20 or more torque on the bottom, that's going to take tuning, because the power curve on the dyno always follows the fuel. They're hand in hand, 100%. So you can expect, if you have a deficiency that this is fixing, it's going to require some tuning, and that's all going to be relative to the combination. So again, if you have questions, feel free to call us. These inserts currently are running $99 a set. We're hoping to, if everything goes as planned and response has been really well so far, doing a lot of different sizes for different stuff. Maybe we'll probably start off doing some 2.25 and 2-inch stuff, and maybe into some 3-inch stuff to get in some of the bigger step mufflers that are out there on the market, so we can help those guys. So anything we can do to help make these bikes tunable and perform better, that's what we're all about here. And we appreciate your business, and you can check these out at fuelmotousa.com.